Hello and welcome to another trip report. I am at Cardiff Central Station here in South Wales, and today I'm going to be taking you up to Holyhead in the very north of Wales on a train you might not have heard of. Enjoy the video. Cardiff Central is the largest and busiest station in Wales, serving over 13 million passengers every year. South Wales has an extensive railway system, and many of the trains that serve Cardiff Central are heading around the South Wales coast or up to the valleys to serve rural communities. Cardiff is around 2 hours travel time from London, and there are regular services by GWR into London Paddington. There are also a number of services every day between Cardiff and Holyhead on the island of Anglesey. Most of these are operated by Class 158 multiple units, but the train we'll be taking today is a bit special. Every weekday, a southbound service arrives into Cardiff at 9:58 and returns again at 17:16. The Welsh Assembly, that is, the local devolved government for Wales, spends around £2 million a year subsidising this full-service intercity train between Holyhead and Cardiff. This train features 3 standard-class British Rail Mark III passenger carriages. There's also a first-class restaurant and dining car at the end of the train. The train is named Gerald of Wales, after a 12th century cleric, writer and traveller who was the clerk to the king at the time. £2 million of subsidy may not sound like a large number in the grand scheme of things, but when you remember that this train runs on weekdays only and there is only one departure northbound and southbound every day, that works out at over £3,000 of subsidy per train. The main reason for the subsidy becomes more obvious when we look at the map. This train is designed mostly to take people from North Wales into South Wales and Cardiff for business. Driving through the sparsely populated and mountainous centre of Wales is time-consuming. First class occupies half a carriage at the rear of the train, jointly with the kitchen. It's laid out in a 2+1 configuration. As an enthusiast, I know how to pick up this train cheaply, and I've been on it many times. The real highlight is the menu. All of the food is restaurant quality and prepared on the train and cooked in the kitchen by trained chefs. All of the food is absolutely complimentary and included in the price of your first class ticket. There's no more to pay unless you want some alcohol. With just 18 seats in first class, service is attentive. The train also stops a number of times on its way to Holyhead. The first stop is Newport. Some of you may have watched my recent video on the Caledonian Sleeper between Fort William and London, where I recommended that you take the journey in the middle of summer. This train is no different. The journey gets gradually more photogenic the closer to North Wales you get, and if you leave in the winter, autumn or even the early spring, I'm afraid you'll miss most of this as it will be in darkness. So a quick look at our surroundings. Firstly, the kitchen is co-located with first class. Each seat features a moderate recline, operable by this little silver knob on the side. There's a lamp which is mostly ornamental, and there is advertised a first class toilet, but I can tell you that this toilet is no different to any other toilet that you might see on any other Mark III carriage anywhere in the country. These carriages were built in the 1970s, and a small number of them still don't have retention toilets. That means that they discharge waste directly onto the track, and that's why you shouldn't flush in a station. The luggage racks on these trains are big enough to carry most handbags or rucksacks. There's also a plug socket at every seat, in first class and in standard class for that matter, and there's also complimentary Wi-Fi, which is offered on board. For the first 20 megabytes of use, you get a higher bandwidth and higher speeds. But enough about connectivity, let's take a look at the food. My starter, I went for the crab cakes with a sweet chilli dip. This was delicious, and you can see that the crab cakes have been freshly pressed in the kitchen. As I mentioned earlier, there's no charge for any of this unless you want alcohol. Schweppes lemonade and soft drinks, tea and coffee are all free. Service is prompt and friendly, and pretty soon my Welsh rack of lamb had arrived. This was absolutely delicious. As a point of note, there are actually 4 menus that go round on a rotational basis. I'll drop some more details about the catering on this service into the description text below through a link. As a minor point of note, the more observant among you will notice that the train company running this service is Arriva Trains Wales. Since filming this video, their franchise has ended and a new company, Transport for Wales, has taken up the franchise for this line. Don't worry, the service is exactly the same. They're using all the same suppliers, carriages and staff. Because of the nature of Wales's geography, this train is rather indirect and actually pops into England briefly. Here is Shrewsbury Town Football Club on the approach to Shrewsbury Station, and you can still find some semaphore signals in this area. I'll be honest, I think I really lucked out with the weather. The weather in England is pretty unpredictable, but to get a summer evening as clear as this is really quite something. Pretty much every single rail enthusiast in the country will be able to regurgitate at least one fact about Shrewsbury. The signal box outside the station at Severn Bridge Junction is the largest mechanically operated signal box still in operation anywhere in the world. Everything this signal box controls is done so with levers and wires. Pulling the lever pulls the wire, which changes the signal. There's nothing electrical about it whatsoever. While we're here, I'll just remind you about my social media profiles. If you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you'll be able to follow where I am in real time and get updates on all of my trips as and when they happen. From Shrewsbury, the line heads back into Wales to Wrexham, and from there back into England again. And our next stop at Chester is heralded again by a sports venue. Seeing Chester Racecourse means you're only a few minutes away from Chester, a fabulous old Roman town. It's a wonderful place to visit, and I thoroughly recommend it. However, our stay in Chester is very brief, as we're only here to stop for a few minutes and for the driver to change ends. Our journey up to North Wales requires us to leave the station in the direction we entered and take a different route onto the North Wales coast. North Wales is an underrated part of the UK, and I'll let the scenery do the talking. The train arrives into Holyhead at 21:37. Even at this late hour, in the middle of summer, there's plenty of daylight to go around. Holyhead is a major port, and from here you can catch ferries to Dublin and Dunleary, but I was in Holyhead to do something a little bit different, which you'll find out about in just a moment. As far as fares go, an advance ticket in first class between Cardiff and Holyhead will cost you £85, or if you already have a standard class ticket, a flat fare upgrade of £35 is payable, and you can do that on board the train. A rail card will get you a third off the advance fare, but not the flat fare upgrade, and bear in mind that if you're taking a shorter journey, for example only to Chester, the fares will be slightly cheaper to reflect the distance travelled. And that's it guys, thank you so much for coming with me on this journey up to Holyhead. I've got my bed for the night. Tomorrow I'm off to Anglesey Airport / RAF Valley, which is just across the road in fact. Be flying back down to Cardiff on Eastern Airways Jetstream 41. That'll be the next video on this channel. I hope you will join me then. Until then, see you around.